Hello class, my name is Lina Grant. I hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving. My apologies for this late submission. This topic is difficult to share openly with people that I cannot see in front of me. The content of this speech is not going to be for little ears. So, let's get started. Have you ever been asked if you could go back in time and live your life over again and hope for a different outcome? If I had the opportunity to go back and relive my life, I would have to say no. I would not be where I am today or the person I am today without the struggles that I have gone through. I am a survivor of domestic violence and have since researched the topic as a way to help heal wounds and have participated in therapy to help heal and deal with the wounds that are left behind. So I'm here to share with you today statistics of domestic violence in Colorado, my personal story of survival, and to share hope with you all. So, 1 in every 4 women will experience domestic violence in her lifetime. And with that, 1 in 33 men will experience an attempted or completed rape. These statistics are online at www.ccadv.org. Has anyone in this room experienced domestic violence or knows someone who has? To put this figure into perspective, the county that I live in has an estimated 12,000 people. That would be an estimated 3,000 women for the 1 in 4 stat. 73% of family violence and 84% of spousal abuse and 86% of abuse from a boyfriend victims are women. It's pretty staggering numbers. It's a pretty serious problem across our country. Boys who witness domestic violence are twice as likely to abuse their own partners and children when they become adults. This is also on the www.ccadv.org website. Some of the myths and statistics from the Longmont Domestic Violence website, longmontdomesticviolence.org. The myth: if my spouse does not do drugs or alcohol, I won't be a victim of domestic violence. The fact: only 16% of Longmont cases in 2010 involved the offenders using drugs or alcohol. Here's another myth for you. Domestic violence is just a fight between a couple. It affects them only, and it doesn't hurt anybody else. It isn't anybody else's business. The fact is, domestic violence is not a fight. It's a pattern of behavior used by one person to exert power and control over another person in a relationship. In the article Examining Domestic Violence in Routt County, Matt Stensland examines specific cases of domestic violence that have led to serious injuries and death. You can find this article on steamboattoday.com/news/2013/August 18. Some of the risk factors that he noted was, in most cases, the man exhibits possessive, obsessive, and jealous behavior. There were 2 incidences in Routt County that involved children being used as pawns by their parents, and both of those children have died. Forms of domestic violence, as listed in the article, include physical violence, which involves hitting, shoving, grabbing, biting, restraining, excuse me as I get this accurate, shaking, choking, burning, and assault with a weapon. Sexual violence, which includes coercing sexual content, rape, prostitution, sexual harassment, and limiting reproductive rights. Psychological abuse, intimidation, threats of harm, isolation, and controlling behavior. Emotional abuse consists of constant criticism, name-calling, and embarrassing, mocking, humiliating, and treating like a person like a servant. Economic abuse is forbidding an intimate partner from working or gaining education, controlling the financial resources, and withholding access to economic resources. So my story, I was married, had 2 children, 16 months apart, and endured many levels of abuse. Not everyone is open about abuse, so I tell my story often with the intent of being able to help and be the voice of encouragement and offer hope for people. I endured physical abuse. I was hit, I was kicked, I was bit, I was pushed, I was shoved, had a knife held up to my throat. I was emotionally abused by being called sick, psycho, schizophrenic, and was even told that my perfume that I was wearing was going to make him puke, and that he was so repulsed. Let's see, I also wore the wrong clothing. He didn't want to be seen in public with me, and I had to be sitting in the car for long periods of time. I also endured financial abuse by my husband. He kept his entire paycheck for his own personal use, and that left all of the money that I earned to go towards bills and food and diapers for the children. During my second pregnancy, I suffered sexual abuse. I didn't think it was possible to be married and to be raped by your spouse. But it happened. And it was painful, and it was terrible, and my second pregnancy was very awful. I also had to be the protector of our animals. At any moment when my husband was angry, he would threaten to kill them if something went wrong, like chewing on a wallet or something that was left down in their reach. All of this happened without drugs or alcohol by my husband. I wish I had something to blame it on, but there wasn't anything, and it was difficult. I called the police the last time he hit me while holding my then daughter, my infant daughter, and I was pregnant with my second daughter. I wanted to go to the grocery store, and we only had one car, and he did not think I needed to go to the store, and so he bit me and hit me and kicked me while holding my child and being pregnant. So I had him arrested, and I thought life was going to be hunky-dory since then. I took him back and accepted all of his promises. Well, that did not stop. A couple months later, we would get into another argument, and I was arrested because my husband told a very convincing story of how I did him wrong. Unfortunately, the system continued to do me wrong as well, and I had to go through the whole judicial system and go under, be under the scrutiny of the Department of Human Services now, because there was 2 cases of domestic violence in the house. My oldest daughter was taken away for 4 very, very long days, and it was very difficult for me. It was just a very difficult time. And yet, we still tried to work it out. Let's see, where was I? I knew I had low self-esteem. I was super depressed. And I had no hope. I was labeled a victim by the agencies that were involved, and that was so embarrassing and so difficult for me. There were so many thoughts that kept running through my mind. How could I possibly leave? I am scared. I am weak. I have no money. I have no job. Where would we go with two little kids? What would happen if he finds me or my kids? What would he do to us? Who would take care of the house, the animals? And so many questions go through your mind. And all those questions convince people to stay. So I'm here to offer you hope. Looking back at my story, I remember hearing this voice in my head that this is not where I'm supposed to let my kids grow up in. This was not the environment for them. So at that point in my life, I allowed the social workers who was involved into what was happening and the truth and the reality. She helped me get out, and she helped us by getting us into a women's shelter for 2.5 weeks. And from then, things were falling into place. Like God was saying, yes, my child, this is it. You are getting out. We had, our bills were paid. I was able to stay in my house. We had food on the table, and then I found employment. And in order to get healthy, we received psychiatric assistance, and I saw therapists, and all these people helped to help get me healthy so I can be the best parent for my children, because I was clinically depressed. That was my diagnosis. And since then, I have found Christ after getting divorced. So my favorite scripture that gives me hope is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. It is in God's grace and mercy that I'm here today. I was in school at the time and wrote many papers about domestic violence, along with the cultures, different cultural stamina, sorry, I'm a little distracted now. My ex-husband is from Jamaica, and I researched Jamaica as a country and a culture, and they have a very tragic history filled with violence and abuse. So 8 years later, after all the help I've received in researching and learning and growing, I am surrounded by encouraging friends, co-workers, and I have an amazing church family. I have worked hard to better our situation with Christ. I've been a single mom for 8 years and have my children in a private Christian school. And I clean the school and receive a scholarship to keep them there. I work full-time at a local nonprofit organization, and I go to school at CCU. I could not do this without God. So, my story is far from a movie star ending, but if it were, I would like Jennifer Lopez to be myself, but she's already been in a movie called Enough. So, this has been the hardest road that I have been on, but it's also been the most rewarding. All the struggles have made me stronger and have made me a better person. I would not go back in time and change the struggles that I've been through, for this is God's plan for me in my life. So I shared with you today some statistics of domestic violence in Colorado and my personal story of survival, and I shared hope and encouragement. So just as a reminder, 1 in 4 women in Colorado are affected by domestic violence, where 1 in 33 men are affected by an attempted or completed rape. I shared the types of domestic violence there are. I shared with you my personal experiences of domestic violence, and it is my goal to offer my voice as a way to help someone who is experiencing or who has experienced domestic violence. It is my hope that someone listening in this room will stand up and be that one person that someone needs when they are amidst their domestic violence and support them. Oftentimes, families do not see the struggles. Or if I'm talking to you who is in the midst of being in survival of domestic violence. There is hope. Don't give up. God has a plan for you. We need to listen and be obedient to His voice. If I missed the voice that told me my situation was not right, I would not be where I'm at today. So for more information, you can go to www.ccadv.org or the longmontdomesticviolence.org website, or your Department of Human Services in your local area. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. Thank you.